I'm on a mission to get every flower lover in New England to support their local flower farm. So if you love flowers, backyard farming, gardening tips, and DIY floral design, this channel's definitely for you. I'm Christin, a backyard flower farmer located here in New Hampshire. I grow on about 1/10 of an acre in Zone 5B. Before I started flower farming, I was working full-time as an ICU nurse. I still work as a nurse in the outpatient setting, and I'm also a wife and a mama to 2 crazy little boys. Once I had my first baby, I struggled hard with anxiety and feeling super isolated while I was at home. My husband was working full-time as an ER nurse, so needless to say, it was not going well. For a bit of backstory, rewind back to 2019. That was the year we got married. I had ordered wholesale flowers and done all of our floral designs myself with a lot of help from friends and family, and I absolutely loved it. But after that, I really hadn't thought too much about flowers and what they were going to do for me. Now back to 2021, when I was working in the ICU, I had a coworker come up to me. Everybody had known that I had done my own wedding flowers, and she asked if I would be interested in doing hers. I immediately said yes without really thinking about what that meant. That was kind of a crazy move, but I did it, and they were really beautiful. It was in that moment that I had this experience of what it was like to share flowers with people. I distinctly remember walking into that house where everyone was getting ready for the wedding, and I just remember the smiles on everyone's faces when they realized that the flowers were there, and it really was an aha moment for me. Everyone loved them, and a new joyful feeling of sharing flowers was unlocked. A few months later, I had a friend that I worked with ask me if I had ever thought about growing my own flowers. I kind of scoffed a little bit and just didn't really think very much of it. But then a few days later, I distinctly remember the moment of typing flower farming into the YouTube search bar. In that moment, my life literally changed and a whole new world was open to me. And that was the beginning of Live Free Florals. So in the winter from 2021 to 2022, we moved to a new house with a much larger backyard. It just had a big grass backyard. I spent the entire winter just like consuming as many YouTube videos, podcasts, books, like anything I could get my hands on about growing flowers. I was reading it and learning and trying to figure out what the next move was. I started ordering tons of seeds, like fancy rose roots, ranunculus and anemone corms. I probably did it all wrong. I got so excited, which I'm sure many of us do, and I just like ordered everything. I do not recommend this, but it's what I did and a big part of how I learned to grow flowers. The other thing I did was I took part of our guest room and I created an indoor growing shelf with lights and heat mats and a couple of folding tables. So that's where my business and our flower farm really started, was in the upstairs guest room with one metal shelf and a couple of folding tables. Something that really drew me to backyard flower farming was that over and over I had heard you don't need a ton of space to grow a lot of flowers. And I have absolutely found this to be true. Like I said, I'm currently growing on about 1/10 of an acre, and I can barely keep up with that myself. So I'm currently a one-woman show, and you really don't need a ton of space. Planning and starting this farm really brought me this new sense of purpose that I really needed. I knew I needed something where I could stay home with the baby, now 2 babies, and really bring myself back to life, bring myself joy, but also create connection with my community and figure out what the next chapter looked like for me. I was so pumped about the type of community that I was creating. I named my business Live Free Florals. This took me a little while to come up with. There are a few different reasons why I chose the name Live Free Florals. I live in New Hampshire. Our state motto is live free or die. People in New Hampshire feel really connected to that, so I wanted to feel a sort of connection to place. And also the idea of living free when I started this business felt super far away from me. I felt kind of trapped in anxiety and isolation. I was looking for a sense of freedom, and learning about locally grown flowers and figuring out how to start my farm really brought me that freedom. That's how I started my flower farm back in 2022. The idea kind of came to life in 2021, but 2022 is when things really got started and I started actually growing. The idea of cultivating flowers locally and supporting local flower farms really inspired me. It brought me great joy and passion to learn about the thousands of other people who were starting small flower farms in their backyard or just in their communities, getting flowers out to the people. I think having seasonal beauty in your home really can bring a sense of joy joy and happiness and connection, especially when you know who grew them and how much love they put into the growing of those things. As with many things in life, the average person doesn't really recognize where their flowers are coming from. So they're picking up flowers in the grocery store on a weekly basis because it's super convenient, but they're not really recognizing or understanding that their flowers are grown in a different country. They're sprayed with pesticides and some other chemicals, and then they're being put on planes and flown hundreds of miles and are sitting for days before they actually end up on your table. So the idea that growing flowers locally could also result in a better quality product for a customer was also a spark for me that really made it click, that this was something that was valuable to not only me, members of my community. I think that once you experience local flowers and you bring them into your home, you really can't go back. And this is why I think it's important that local flowers become the norm, not the exception. I would love if more people were learning about who their local flower farmer is and bringing those blooms into their home every week. So here on my channel, I want to show you kind of the honest behind the scenes of what it's like to be a small backyard flower farmer. I'm also going to be collaborating with other flower farmers in New Hampshire and hopefully New England to really showcase what we have going on here. So every flower lover in the area knows exactly where they're getting their local seasonal blooms from. And then another goal that I have personally is to get much better at floral design. So I'm going to bring you along on that journey as well. So if you love flowers, gardening, floral design, and things like that, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can follow along for this awesome journey. My vision and hope for this YouTube channel is that we can build community and connection around local flowers, and that I can share what I learn along the way. I just want to say thank you so much for being here with me. I am truly grateful for you to come along on this journey. Let's grow something beautiful together.